So Switch 2 is a pretty powerful and impressive system. I think we can all agree on that by this point. But it has a hidden problem that's going to catch a lot of gamers off guard at launch, and if you're not careful, it could catch you off guard. And that is storage space, and thereby the storage space solution, which I learned today Nintendo's not even ready for. They are not even ready for it, and neither really is the world. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about storage before we get to launch so that you're not caught off guard, because I fear a lot of people are going to be. Nintendo isn't making it easy, and in fact, I think they're kind of trying to hide some of this stuff because it's a little bit awkward. Anyways, let's get right into it, all right? The Nintendo Switch 2 has 256 gigabytes of storage, which sounds like a lot because it's 8 times that of the Switch 1. But it's not. At least it's not as much as it sounds, because remember, first off, the operating system is going to take up some of that space. On the Switch 1, it was 20%, so let's chuck out 30 gigabytes for the operating system, and we're down to like 220. Now, the other consoles have far more storage, like the PS5 has a terabyte, the Xbox Series S has 512 gigabytes, Switch 2 coming in at 256, and that's okay because Nintendo, their games, they condense really small. They get them down to be fine. Mario Kart's roughly 25, DK is smaller than that. But it's those third-party games where we start to worry, as those have clocked in anywhere from 40 to 70 gigabytes. And as we know, the third parties are not paying for expensive Switch 2 carts, they're putting their games as game keys, which means you gotta download the whole thing. They're putting their games as game codes, which means you gotta download the whole thing. So if you do simple math, you can see that a couple of games quickly fills up this system, and you're probably wondering, how do I expand it? What do I expand it with? Nintendo is trying a whole new format, as the Switch 2 is the first consumer device to fully embrace micro SD express cards. Now, this would be fine and dandy if they were out there and if they were readily available and if the Switch 2 could accept them, but when you unbox your Switch 2, it cannot. This is so interesting to me, and I just found this out today. The Switch 2 can't accept any other type of memory except micro SD express. This is a new standard and a new type of card, which is great, okay? That part is good. Nintendo is being future thinking. They're giving us really fast memory that's going to be able to read and write quickly and going to be able to speed up load times and make these games run as best as they can. The problem is your old memory cards will not work, which means you need to buy new. The problem is those new memory cards are pretty hard to find and pretty expensive because nothing else really uses them. The other problem is Nintendo Switch 2 out of the box cannot accept any memory cards, which frankly I think is kind of crazy. Sound off in the comments if you agree, but like, I'm paying $450 or $500 for the system. It better work as intended out of the box. There's actually multiple features that Nintendo is hiding behind a day one update, or at least we hope it's day one. They haven't confirmed yet whether it's like a midnight update, 8 a.m. update, 8 p.m. update, but both the ability to use micro SD express cards, the only memory card the Switch 2 takes, in the Switch 2 is hidden behind a day one update. It won't work out of the box. As well as the 3D spatial audio that they're touting as like a really cool feature that you don't need like surround sound. It just does this approximated surround sound. That's also tied behind the update. Now, in today's day and age, an update isn't that big of a deal. You connect to the internet, you download it, you're good. Some people might not open their system by the internet. Some people might not know about this. Some people might jam a memory card in and think, why isn't it working? Now, I've done the math and I've looked at the file sizes. I'll put the most common ones in the description down below for you to check out for yourself and build a plan. Basically, you'll be good early on. Okay, Mario Kart is like 25 gigabytes. Split Fiction is 71 gigabytes. Thank goodness Cyberpunk 2077 actually has a cartridge. Madden is going to be 62 gigabytes when it eventually drops. These games are going to add up and pile on quickly. The Nintendo stuff is good, but when you think about how few cartridge-based games there are at launch, it's like Mario Kart, Cyberpunk, Zelda Upgrade Pack, and some of Marvelous's games. That's like it. So if you want to play these other games, if you want to fully experience what the Switch 2 can offer, if you want to get Elden Ring on your Switch 2, if you want to try out Split Fiction with a friend, you're going to be downloading these and your storage space is going to fill up quickly because 220 goes down to about 195 after Mario Kart World. And remember, if you're getting the bundle, you are getting a download code. Let's say you want to pick up Hitman World of Assassination on launch day. That's 61 gigabytes. We're down to 134. Then you download Fortnite just to have it on the system. We're down to 104. You grab Cyberpunk 2077, but the cartridge was sold out at your store, so you have to download it. You're down to like 30 gigs. and before you know it, your storage space is gone. So what do? You have to get a micro SD express card. And let me be very clear, it must say express on it. It cannot say ultra speed, it cannot say, 10, it cannot say super, it has to say micro SD express. And I was looking all over the internet, there's really not many of these. There's not many. And I'm sure eventually there'll be more, but right now it's like just a slight few. The SD cards that I looked at that are express on Amazon, the one I want is sold out. That's the Lexar Play card. They released the first ever terabyte micro SD express, and all their cards are sold out. You can't get any of them. Now, the official Nintendo branded micro SD express card from Samsung is $60 as a pre-order for 256 gigs. $60 for 256 feels pretty good because when I checked SanDisk has a 128 for 50. Ugh, 128 for 50 is like $25 just to store a game. We cannot be adding $25 onto the cost of every game. That's just not going to be doable. So I'm looking at either this Samsung card for 60, or I'm looking at Amazon and Lexar where they have the Play card. But the Play card is sold out in all of the sizes. It's so sold out, in fact, that I contacted my Lexar person and was like, hey, could I check out one of these cards? And they're like, we don't have one for you. They're all sold out. So we're in a bit of a dicey situation where you're going to need storage space. It's very hard to get storage space. If you buy the storage space now, it's probably pretty expensive. So I wouldn't blame you if this starts to sound really confusing and like, are we going to have enough storage? Nintendo doesn't even let you use the storage right out of the box. These memory cards are hard to find. They're sold out. They're expensive. It's a little weird, and it's much more of an issue this time around because A, the games are much bigger, and B, feels like there's going to be far fewer cartridges that actually have anything important on them. So that's where I come in to try to help you out and give you the details. And if you want my expert advice, I would say it is scary, it is weird, you are going to have to connect to the internet to update to even take a memory card, but I would try to save your storage and bide your time as much as you possibly can. The longer you're able to wait to get a new memory card, A, the more likely it is to be in stock, and B, the more likely it is that more companies start making these micro SD express cards. They're going to see 6 to 8 million Switches out there and be like, we better get on this express card train. And they might not make 6 to 8 million micro SD expresses, but they're going to make a good number, a few million, and that'll make them much easier to get, and more importantly, bring the price down. It's no fun to grab a memory card that costs over $100 when you purchase a system that costs $500. And if we saw and learned from the Switch 1 era, those memory cards went on sale pretty quickly, and there were some great sales by the end where like you could get a 1 terabyte card for 50% off on Amazon pretty frequently. There was a number of sales where it was 50% off as opposed to paying this initial markup. As this is a new format, there is going to be a early period where it's hard to get and where it is expensive. And so you might be kind of trying to ride both sides here where you're like, I don't want to run out of storage. I don't want to pay a lot. I'm going to get a lot of games. I'm going to need the storage. You might have to just micromanage your situation for a bit until these become more plentiful and until these drop in price. I really would not rush out to get one now unless you want to pre-order that Nintendo Samsung 256. I think that's a pretty decent price considering it's $10 more for double what SanDisk is currently offering through Amazon. It feels okay, but I find this just to be so bizarre that Nintendo isn't letting people know and didn't make it up front that, hey, like out of the box, our system takes no memory cards. And this is going to be a very important piece of the puzzle because even though the games are not as big as something on PS5 or Xbox Series X where it's ballooned to 150 gigabytes or 200 gigabytes, we're still talking about each game taking 40 to 70 gigabytes that's not made by Nintendo. And I think there's going to be people that think their old micro SD card can work in this system. And I think there's going to be even more people that go out and buy what they think is a micro SD express card and find out that it cannot work on the Switch. Hopefully there's not a lot of people that use up the storage space right during launch week, although you easily could do so if you did buy a library of games. You pick out Elden Ring, you pick out Hitman, you pick out Mario Kart World. Before you know it, that space is going to be absolutely eaten up. Just try and make it last. You can always delete and re-download, which I know sounds annoying and maybe feels like something you shouldn't have to do. I feel like 256 gigs is about the least Nintendo could have given us, but it still feels like a fair amount considering that their first-party titles are able to be condensed so small. The issue is that these third parties are heavily choosing game key cards and download codes instead of cartridges, which means the storage becomes that much more premium, that much more needed, that much more imperative to have and they better iron out this microSD Express card stock situation quickly. Got to get these in stock and got to get the price down, because we shouldn't be out here paying huge money for some crazy tech that isn't proprietary. It's just newly introduced. And I know there's always a little bit of like an adoption period, and hopefully microSD Express becomes adopted by more devices besides the Switch 2, so it has more uses, because a microSD card is nice. You put in your Switch, if you're done with that or don't need it, you put it in your camera, or vice versa. I converted a microSD card from my camera to be my Switch memory card before I got a bigger one. That's really nice and nifty, and it's not going to happen with the Switch 2, and it's not going to happen until you download those updates, which hopefully are available right when you pop the system. But there's a chance that, like, right out of the box, if I get it at Best Buy at midnight, may not be able to use a memory card. Now, I probably won't fill up 230 gigabytes right away, but I'm telling you, if you can get that Cyberpunk cartridge, get it. If you can get other Nintendo games on cartridge, get it, because storage space is going to be a premium. And this puts physical media into a new perspective where it's not just like, oh, I want it on my shelf. It's like, can I save the space that I have so I don't have to immediately go out and buy one of these cards, and I can wait 6 months, a year, something like that, until they start dropping down. So let me know your take on all of this. Are you planning to buy a memory card early on? Are you going to try to make that 256 gigs last as long as humanly possible? And take a look at the file sizes in the description so you can sort of plan out brick by brick and build what your 256 gigabytes, really 230 gigabytes, is actually going to hold. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Hope you're having a fantastic day out there. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay away, stay positive. Love you lots. SwitchForce, out.